Just before we get into the video review proper on this DAC, I just wanted to say I've started up a merch store on this YouTube channel. I make, as I said before, little money doing YouTube videos and reviews. There isn't much money to make in this industry at my kind of stage. So if I have helped you out and you like what I do, please reciprocate by considering buying some merch from me. Check out below. I'm actually doing this as my only source of income at the moment, and whilst I'm actually planning another videography business. So getting straight to it, Manunta is actually an offshoot of an Italian hi-fi company called M2 Tech. Most people probably know them. And they are a direct selling model, this new offshoot Manunta. And I like that because you get more for your money, you tend to, and you have all the advantages of not having to need sales from shops or distributors being involved, or perhaps PR agents too. So you can have much bigger margins for the manufacturer but lower price for consumers. So this EVO DAC 3 has about the same footprint as a CD case. It's a little bit deeper, same width though. And you'll notice that there's 3 buttons on the front. On the left hand side, simple on off button. Right hand side, volume up, volume down, also doubles for mute functionality. But you also get a standard remote control with this unit, which is the same remote that's used on other components in the range, I understand. If you look around the back at this DAC, you'll see it's absolutely chocker full of connections, jam full of connections in other words. And the bit that I really like about M2 Tech products that I've tried before is whilst the cases may be functionally built, they are, or they seem to be, a lot of their products about everything but the kitchen sink, features and functionality. So this unit has no nonsense build quality but good design. I like the design of it. And it doesn't have to use 100% aluminium throughout at this price, which I'm on board with, because often you only get marginal sound quality improvements for using solid aluminium cases. So this DAC uses RCA analog outputs and XLR balanced analog outputs. And XLR, to reiterate for those novices that are watching my videos, is just simply a means of cancelling noise along an audio cable, an analog audio cable, by using an additional extra wire. As far as digital inputs go, you'll notice you've got RCA coax, optical toslink and a USB connection, but also I2S, which some people actually swear by, and this is basically a way of separating the digital clock signal from the data signal of a traditional SP-DIF coaxial connection. When Sony and Philips developed the original RCA digital connection, that's why it's called SP-DIF, S stands for Sony, P for Philips, they put all of those together, and I2S is a means of separating out those two elements of the signal. You'll find it on DACs like Denafrips or Hollow Audio, and it's fairly typical too to use HDMI, although HDMI is a non-standard connection. There isn't actually a specific connection for I2S. And talking about more features, this DAC has MQA audio decoding, maybe a hot topic at the moment, but still available, so still worth having. And that's available with this DAC on all its inputs, obviously not including Bluetooth, but you can also go up to 768 kilohertz sample frequencies with PCM audio and up to 512 native DSD. So this DAC has Bluetooth, and you might be thinking, well, so what, considering how we think of the quality of Bluetooth audio as audiophiles. But how many times have you owned premium hi-fi gear and a friend comes round and they want to play a track off their phone through your system, and you've got all this really expensive stuff, but you've got no means of playing Bluetooth and you feel a bit stupid? So I think it has a use and purpose, and also just for the sake of convenience, when you can't be bothered to turn on streamers, you just want to Bluetooth straight away without messing about. Before we talk about sound quality, a quick interlude of one of my favourite electronic artists. Forget about Italian opera and that track Chorus of the Hebrew Slaves that I played to the 3D segment that I made at the start. Fortet. So I've talked about some of the features of this DAC, and another thing that shouldn't go understated or under-mentioned, if that's such a word, is the ability to control volume with this DAC, because it gives it incredible flexibility to use it in the future as a preamp into power amps if your system changes. The other thing that's pretty obvious so far as features of this DAC goes is the dimmable lights at the front, and these lights or LEDs are for showing whether there is PCM, DSD or MQA coming through the DAC. Also a row of lights down the side for sample frequency, and then on the other side for input that's being used. And again, it doesn't really just stop there, because they've actually developed an iOS and Android app which you can do things like changing the input, showing the source that's being used. You can change volume in the app itself, change DAC filters, change the DAC's phase, set auto off. And also there's actually a balance control in the app itself, which is a really useful feature because some people have different hearing acuity in different ears, and you might think, well, that sounds like too simple of a feature for this particular DAC, but you'll be surprised about how many DACs or hi-fi components don't have balance controls nowadays. Sound quality of this DAC presents as to what you'd expect at this price. It's a resolute, resolving and precise DAC which doesn't have the tendency that some DACs have to over-inflame treble, particularly when you use them with really transparent amplifiers like my Hagel H390. But I also use this DAC with Arundel's 1723 Bookshelf S speakers. That's quite an open, transparent speaker, and again, none of those problems. And even more surprising for me, when I then put my PMCs on, because they can be quite bright with some, or quite a few DACs I should say, again, none of those issues. So I did a comparison of this DAC to the Denafrips Aries 2, which I've still got, which is in pre-12th FPGA upgrade guys. I would say that FPGA updates sometimes only bring nuance changes in DACs. That's been my experience. The Aries is a more thicker set, bigger sound stage, slightly warmer tone type DAC to this Manunta, which is more about speed, dynamics, being precise, and being, I would say, more of an all-rounder with music. You can put this EVO DAC 3 into a system and it's going to get on with electronic, it's going to get on with classical, rock, more of an all-rounder, to the Denafrips being more for someone that likes a slower, acoustic, tonal quality to their music. It's also a slightly more refined DAC than the Cambridge Audio DAC Magic 200M that I reviewed, which is perhaps not unsurprising because this DAC retails in the UK for around £800 and the DAC Magic is £550, so slight difference in price. The Cambridge also has slightly more connections on the back, but they are comparable in the sense of being able to connect most digital inputs. Marco Manunta, who owns Manunta Audio, told me that to get over some of the issues of op-amps in DACs being used at the output to buffer the right current and voltage, which sometimes causes aliasing, they've actually used discrete components to get over some of these issues, giving this DAC actually a unique design at this price. I've included some more comment in the description which Marco gave me for the technically minded, if you want to read a bit more. I do actually have one fair criticism of this product, and that was to do with the packaging, because a courier had actually dropped the box and it uses cardboard inserts without a protective bag around the unit itself, and these cardboard inserts had scratched the front faceplate. When I spoke to Marco, he told me that he was actually redesigning the content of the box, going to use foam and a protective cover around the unit, following my comments about the experience I had with the courier. So that shows this is a great hi-fi company when they're prepared to take on board reviewer comments in that way. So overall, what do I think about this DAC? Well, it comes across as a good product in the sense of being a jack of all trades, good sound quality, good features, good connectability, and doing everything it should at this money. It's also probably producing a little bit more than what you could achieve if you bought this DAC in a shop and this direct model. So as far as buying it direct, I wouldn't have any qualms about buying it and being satisfied with buying it on the basis of this review. Thanks for watching.